It's Monday, and it's time for our weekly language review video. Of course, on Mondays, it is nice and simple because we're one question short from the rest of the week because the first box just gives us the words that we will work with for the week. In this case, they are cyclops, postmortem, disturb, bicycle, disagreement, disappoint, cyclical, and post-test. So we will use those 8 words to help us throughout the rest of the week answer some of those questions. We will use some, but not all. So the first problem for today is to write the possessive noun. The 3 boys' cell phones are in their backpacks. The word boys is already plural. And so when a word is already plural and we want to make it possessive, we go ahead and we put just the apostrophe. Again, the rule is if the word is already plural and we want to make it possessive, we just add the apostrophe. If, however, a word ends in an S and is singular, and then we want to make it possessive, then we actually add an apostrophe S. And I know that that seems strange because it feels like we've not been allowed to do that in the past. But for example, if your name was James and something belonged to you, we would say it's James's cell phone. Now, however, if we were talking about trying to think of a good example here. If we're talking about your family, for example, my family, the Leonards, right? And we want to talk about the Halloween blow-ups in my front yard. We would say that those are the Leonards' Halloween blow-ups. So in that case, again, we would just make it an apostrophe because it's already plural. And then we're also making it possessive. But again, if it's singular and ends in an S, and then we're making it possessive, we just add the apostrophe S. So trying not to confuse you there, but I want to keep reminding you of that rule. Is this a simple, compound, or complex sentence? We do have a comma, which does tend to indicate that it is not simple. So we need to look. Is it compound or complex? I'm going to keep reiterating these rules. Compound is 2 independent clauses joined together by a comma and a conjunction. Conjunctions, again, are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, therefore, however, and there are several others. In this case, we're looking at a complex sentence because if I were to take off this part and it just says, while I was sleeping, while you were sleeping what? So in this case, this is a dependent clause. It does require the last part of the sentence in order to make sense. If I were to take off this front part, I would say, I was charging my cell phone. That is an independent clause. It is a sentence in and of itself, and therefore does not need the beginning of the sentence. However, the beginning of the sentence is a prepositional phrase that provides us with more information. So complex sentences actually move a prepositional phrase from the end to the beginning. So I could say, I was charging my cell phone while I was sleeping. That would still make sense. And in that case, we would not necessarily use a comma. But I can simply move that prepositional phrase to the beginning of the sentence to say, while I was sleeping, I was charging my cell phone. So this is a complex sentence. It uses that dependent clause, that dependent prepositional phrase, in conjunction with, or in addition to the independent clause. I'm afraid I will stammer during my speech if I get nervous. What does stammer mean? Well, when you are stammering, it almost makes you stammer. The word stammer almost makes you stammer. And it means to, in a sense, to stutter. Stutter. How else could we say this? Kind of mess up your words. And to introduce some of these literary devices that we've been working with, you might say you get a little tongue-tied. It's an idiom. Your tongue doesn't actually get tied up. It just feels like it did. You say you trip over your words, or that your tongue is in knots because you just can't get things out smoothly. Speaking of figurative language, our next box here says, name the figurative language. We have an idiom, such as tongue-tied, hyperbole, which again is an exaggeration, and personification, which we just worked with, where we give human characteristics to non-living things, or even animals. The rays of the morning sun tiptoed through the window. So it's the rays, and they are tiptoeing. Rays of sunlight do not tiptoe through the window. Only people tiptoe. So we know that this is personification. And I'm starting to notice that our questions are shifting a little bit in terms of we've had quite the routine over the last 6 weeks. And now in week 7, questions are starting to be in different locations. That is just something that I have noticed. I don't know if you noticed it as well, but write your own example of personification. Well, we've written many of these. So let's look at another example of personification. We could say the cat, because I have plenty of those. How about that? The cats, because I have few cats. Cats plotted, because I am pretty sure they meet in secret on a regular basis to plot something. The cats plotted to get the dogs removed from the house. And again, this is just my example. You can write your own example, or you can continue to use mine if you'd like. Again, I'm pretty sure my cats do actually plot things like this, but you may feel like your cats are kind. My cats stare at the dogs, and I'm pretty sure that that's what they're thinking. How do we get these guys kicked out? So there you go. And in fact, I just looked down at my feet, and there's one resting from their plotting meeting. All right, so write the meaning of the word cycle. So think of a bicycle or a unicycle, or even the cycle of life. We tend to use the word cycle to mean wheel, or more importantly, circle. So, for example, a bicycle has 2 wheels or 2 circles that we know to be wheels. The cycle of life is the circle of life. Also a good song from Lion King. Be much different sounding if you said the cycle of life. Nah, definitely needs to be a circle. All right, guys. That's our Monday for you. See you tomorrow.